Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. I am your host, Lake, but as always, I am not alone. I am with my frequent flyer as of the last couple episodes here, our co-host, Christy.
Hi, Lake. How are you?
I am doing all right. How are you doing today, Christy?
I am doing well, thank you.
Good. How's your running been going?
So I went inside on the treadmill today and banged out 3, and man, it is a world of difference. I'm not going to lie. It's amazing. I had like a slight fan that I have blowing on me. I actually put a little stroller fan on my treadmill and let it like blow a little. Man, it is a very big difference from like 90 degrees to 77.
The weather is brutal out here right now in Florida.
Yeah. And, I get the advisories every day about, or not every day, but enough about the heat advisory and you shouldn't go outside. I'm like,
I was supposed to do some today when I got home and I was driving home and it was like, oh, it's 98 degrees outside. And it's like, I don't think that's happening today.
Mm-mm. And that's like the temperature. That's not even the real feel.
But we're not here to talk all about running. We're here to talk about cruising and Disney World trips, which I'm pretty excited because I feel like it's been a while since we've had a a land and sea vacation. And this one's pretty special. So we would like to welcome back to the show, Diane and Mark. Diane and Mark, how are we doing today?
Good. Great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And we have a really cool trip to talk here because not only do we have 2 Walt Disney World trips in this, but we also have a back-to-back-to-back sailing on the Disney Wish. Why don't we talk a little bit about what the thought process here, booking this super elaborate land and sea trip?
Yeah, this was for sure a bucket list trip. We always take one nice summer vacation, and last year was my 50th birthday, so we're taking our nice vacation, stepped up a few levels instead of, that was going to be our celebration. And we were going to do a 12-night Mediterranean cruise that Christy booked for us, which was going to be our return. The last time we were on the podcast, we talked about our 10-night Mediterranean and we loved it so much. So that was what we were going to do. And then we ended up buying a house and we closed literally a week before we were supposed to leave. So I called Christy in a panic and I said, there's no way I'll be able to do this. It's too much going on. So she rebooked us for this summer, actually, in the Mediterranean. I think it was like an 11-night. And then in November, we decided to get a dog who is, she's a rescue who had been like surrendered 2 times. So we're the 4th house she's been in. And the trip was supposed to be all in, I think 3.5 or 4 weeks because I was going to work from Europe and we were going to stay a little extra. But so there was no way we were going to be able to do that with the dog. And Christy and I put our brains together and I kind of stopped the website and I realized, well, wouldn't it be great to get back on the Wish? And last summer we ended up doing a back-to-back-to-back, not concierge though, on the Wish, and we just loved it. And so I thought, that would be shorter time. We'd stay on the Eastern Seaboard. So I put it together and then I thought, well, why not try out concierge? And it was too late. I think we booked it in January, right, Christy? So it was kind of too late to get the same room for all 3. And I don't think initially we got concierge for all 3. I think it was just like the first one and the last one. And then sometime in March it came through.
Yeah. I was on the Wonder. And on
yes, that's right,
Royal Caribbean's Wonder, and it wouldn't let me like pay for your room. And concierge was emailing me and saying, well, your wait list has come through, but you have to pay for it. And like, you have to call us. And I'm like, I can't call. Like I'm in the middle of the ocean and the internet's not working. So I emailed and they were like, that's fine. Just make the payment, in the next couple of days if you can. Yeah. And then finally, one of the crew members gave me his computer and we eventually got it to work. and we were able to make the payment, and Diane was able to do her work trip, and we were able to secure a concierge because they don't leave it open forever. They're like, you have to pay or you lose it.
I think what was funnier is I was on a beach in Miami for girls, my 50th girls trip with my college friends. And you were leaving from Miami and there was like literally a cruise ship as we're talking. And I was like, is that you?
It was wild.
Yeah. So that's how it worked out. And then we knew we wanted to do some time before and after. And because it was July and so hot and there was still a pass holder discount. So we decided to go club level because it really wasn't that much more expensive. I kind of wanted to see, because we weren't bringing the dog. We have brought the dog because she's small. We've brought her to Disney a few times, but there's only those 4 hotels you can stay at. So I knew we wanted to go to hotels we wouldn't be able to stay, that we could stay at since we didn't have her. And I made it a surprise for Mark and our 12-year-old daughter. So they didn't know where we were staying. And I think I even switched the hotels a few times, Christy, because I was just constantly looking to see what we can get. So we started 2 nights at the Poly, then 2 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and then 2 nights at Boardwalk, which we had never stayed at the end.
And the Poly was 2 nights over 4th of July. So you had the club level and they have that special like roped off or squared off area of the beach. Ooh, that was lovely.
Yes. So the King Kamehameha Lounge is amazing. It's like got this 2-story vista. You oversee the lagoon and you see the castle. And Christy and I were texting before about where to watch the fireworks. And anyway, one thing led to another. And Christy and Blake were able to come and join us and I think we saw them like the whole time we were at the Poly, which was super nice. And Christy and I got a run in Lake. So you'll be happy to know that.
Yeah, I do believe I heard words of running from basically the Poly all the way around to Contemporary and back.
Yeah.
We didn't go back. I think we ended up starting at we took the monorail to the Contemporary and then we started there and went to the Polynesian, which I think we determined was like 2.5 miles or 2 miles. Right around
about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to do that run again. It was really nice.
Yeah. And Mark,
the company though.
Yeah, the company made it. Yeah, it was so fun. It was so fun. Those are, I don't know if you want to, I don't want to monopolize. The fireworks were amazing, but Mark actually grew up in Hawaii. So he has for him to say the Poly is the real deal.
Poly's great.
For those that might not be familiar with staying club level, what kind of amenities do you get when you do that?
A lot.
Yeah, there's the club. There's like the lounge, and they have a breakfast set up, which I think goes from like 7 to 10:30. Then they have lunch or late snacks from 11 to 4:30, and then they have from 5 to 7 happy hour, which has pretty heavy hors d'oeuvres. Like you could definitely make a dinner out of it. And then alcohol is included from 5 to 7. But the truth is we found that you can get alcohol any time of the day. Not that we know that from,
breakfast Prosecco.
Yeah. Yeah. You just ask them but it's sort of similar to concierge in that if you had a park reservation and you wanted to change it to something else, they could do it right there for you in the club. And the food is really good. And each club has a different specialty drink, we learned, which I don't think I realized before. The Poly is like pog juice. It's like a pog mimosa. And at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, they call it jungle juice, I think, which is also a pog mimosa. And then at the Boardwalk has the best of the specialty drinks. They do a mimosa, but they put these little duckies in them.
Yeah.
They have different
rubber duckies.
Yeah. And the pretty straws. They have like these, like old boardwalky kind of striped straws.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, which you weren't there for a weekend at the Boardwalk, but they do an omelet station or like there's like a chef that comes in and does like a hot breakfast. Like, I think it was omelets that occurs like on Sunday. If people are looking for that sometime, that's extra fun.
One thing I thought was really cool is the chef was in the club lounge. I saw her probably every day, at least once. So
nice.
That was a nice little touch because she doesn't have to do that for sure.
And it's the chef from Trattoria Al Forno, actually.
Well, he was in, I saw him at least once. I think there's a chef just for the club. Could be wrong. But I saw her every day at least twice. Yeah. So that was cool.
I do have one thing to think about if you want, and it's not a con. It's definitely not a con. I would say the one thing to think about if you're doing club level on a short trip, and if you're someone who likes to be in the parks all the time, you do kind of feel the pressure to work around that schedule so that you can get all the included things. I didn't think it was that big of a deal at the Poly because we ended up doing a resort day at each of the three. But for Animal Kingdom in particular, because Animal Kingdom closes at 7, it felt like we kind of felt like we were on the clock trying to get the things done in Animal Kingdom we wanted to do. And again, this is like way a first world bougie problem, but just something to think about if you're really serious about charging the parks.
Oh, for sure. Like, I don't think, club level, especially depending on how many people you have in your family, could actually be somewhat reasonable. Sometimes it's less reasonable, but it can be really financially make sense depending on the number of people you have in your party. Like if they're doing a special or a deal or things like that, or just depending on what type of family you have. But it's only beneficial, like you said, if you're going to use it and if you're going to be there. And while you can pop in until they close, which they all typically close at like 10 o'clock, you can pop in and get bubbles. So champagne or Prosecco, whatever. And it's never champagne, let's be honest, but it will be Prosecco or, bubbly wine. So you can stop in and ask for that in a club anytime. And they have beer and they have red and white wine. And then in the evening, you can only, I believe, get this in the evening, but from 8 to 10, you can get your cordials, which is like a Bailey's or Kahlua.
Yeah. So at Animal Kingdom Lodge, they have Amarula, which is, I think, the African version of Bailey's. And they had Grand Marnier, I think. Mm-hmm. And they had like 4 or 5 out. And the nice thing at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, all the wines were from Africa that they had in the lounge. So I thought that was a really nice touch.
And do they have a chef there still that comes in the evening? Because they used to in their club level.
I don't know that we saw a chef, but their food is from the Boma kitchen. I know they said that. Oh, because we met that guy, Glenn, who used to be on Disney Cruise Line in the concierge. And so he's a club level manager now. And he was really great. So he was giving us the rundown. I don't know that I saw a chef in there. They did have a separate hot plate where they, like one night they had chicken tikka masala and they had some kind of soup. So they did have something like separate from the bar, the hot food bar area that they would be cooking. And that lounge is beautiful because it's very open. It overlooks the lobby and you can see out into the savannah. But I found that one the most chaotic because I don't think it had enough seats. People were really making use of it, especially at breakfast at 5 to 7. And there were a few times where you had to like shark some tables to get the seats. So that would be my one comment about that. And for the Poly, specific to July 4th, you do get wristbands they have a special section for you on the beach. And that, honestly, that made it, aside from having Christy with us, that really made the whole Poly experience. Because they do the July 4th fireworks on the 3rd and the 4th. So I think on the first night we saw it from the club, which was also very cool. And we ended up, I don't know how we did it, but we ended up getting right in front of the window. And then the next day we did it from the beach. So it was just great to have the 2 different options.
I think the amazing thing about the Poly, it just seems like everything is so right there. Like I never feel, every time we've stayed at the Poly, I felt like the pools are right there. The main area, the lobby and the restaurants, I never had that feeling of having to walk forever. It just seems the way it's set up.
I guess, depending on where you were, though. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess we've gotten lucky every time.
Yeah. And we did Kona Cafe, which we had never done before, and that was good. And Mark had tried the candied bacon at the little place next to it. And then we did get back scratchers. We got the last 2 actual back scratchers in the resort. And then we got those Lapu Lapu, I think they're called, the thing that comes in the pineapple. And actually they do them for kids too. So Deegan got one with like a virgin pina colada and that. We have a fun picture of that. She loved that.
Sounds like just an absolutely amazing way to both start and end your trip. But we have not one, not two, but 3 cruises to hit upon here as well. That was sandwiched right in between these amazing club level stays. So we've got back to back to back on the Disney Wish sailing out of Port Canaveral. First question is, how did we get to the port? Did we use Disney transportation, something private, other?
I'll let Mark handle this. We did use Disney transportation, but probably for the last time. But I'll let him explain why.
It was, it's 8:15 in the morning and we get on the bus and everything's cool. And then all of a sudden they start the Disney video loop, but the volume was at 12 or maybe 15.
So loud.
And, it's not even dialogue. It's laughing, burping, screaming, horns, sound effects. And at a certain point, I just got up and I went and I told the driver to turn it down,
And he got a round of applause from all the parents around. I think I just had repressed it from the last time we took a Disney transfer because as it started coming on, I was like, oh yeah.
But also it's, we had to hit, I think 3 other resorts.
We still got there before. I think we got there at 10:30. So, but I think we probably wouldn't do a transfer again. I think we'd probably just do an Uber private kind of transfer.
Yeah.
So we get to Port Canaveral, beautiful Disney Wish. How was the embarkation process for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was actually my birthday, the day we got on the ship. So they had given me one of the birthday pins at the Animal Kingdom where we checked out of. And then it was our first time doing concierge. And so we got to the concierge area check-in and everyone wished me happy birthday. And, they gave us the little gold sticker with the 2 keys on it. And that was very seamless. And we had also got Disney Band Pluses. So they hooked them up for us there. Yeah, embarkation was fine then. So here's an interesting thing.
I do have a question on the Disney Band Plus. So if it's on your account, it's not just there, like they have to do something at the port to make it work?
Yeah, they have those iPads. Kind of like, I don't know if you've ever gotten into the parks and then there's a problem and then they take your Magic Band and put it under this iPad. They had to do that just to activate that. I think they did that for each of the cruises. They have to reactivate it. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's new. We definitely haven't heard that before. So, but I think then the pro tip is to take your Magic Band, Disney Band Plus, out, make sure you have it with you.
Yeah.
So that you can activate it. Otherwise, you're doing this at guest services. And who wants to go to guest services?
And also, honestly, I forgot you had to charge them. So it wasn't until even the 3rd cruise that I thought to charge them, which we can talk about because there are fun things when they are charged. They work if they're not charged, just similar to a Magic Band. They just kind of hooked it up to the iPad and it was very seamless. It didn't take very long. So
we just have to remember to do it.
You have to remember to have them with you. Yeah. Same like if you're going in an Uber to a hotel and you have to have your Magic Band to get through security usually. So that was fine. And then people met us at the top and asked us if we wanted to go to the lounge, but they do make a point to say there isn't a bathroom in the concierge lounge. So we did that. So we all went to the bathroom and then went into the concierge lounge. And that was, we were there not very long, I guess. And then, the guests came. One of the hosts named Ropa, and she's from Zimbabwe. And so they all went around and they were saying where they were from. And she said she was from Wakanda and she did the Wakanda Forever sign. And I maybe too was a little hungover. And so in my head, this was my thought. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a real place. But I kept it inside because there was must have been some part of me that knew it was like she was making a joke. But I really, for a minute, thought about it. And then when we met her later, we ended up telling her the story and we all had a good laugh about it.
Well, Diane said to me at one point, she was like, can I tell you something really funny? Like, sure. And, she rehashed, same story. And she's like, I didn't know it was a real place. I was like, it's not. Okay. And then Deegan overheard it. And Deegan's like, Wakanda forever, am I right?
So that was our saying the whole trip. Wakanda forever, am I right?
So we were in the concierge lounge. This might have been in the 2nd cruise.
I think it was.
After we got to know Ropa. We were sitting in the, right at the window. And Ropa came over and Diane and her were talking. Ropa was getting ready to leave. And I said, babe, are you going to come clean?
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah. She was so funny. Yeah, we had some really good laughs with her about it.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, we got on board.
Back to the lounge lounge at the port really quick before we board the ship, because they revamped it and reimagined it. And does it include like waters and does it have bubbles on the port or only on the ship?
No, it's just on the ship. Yeah, it has the Dansani canned water and then Coke and Sprite, and I think that was it.
It was pretty bare bones.
It was pretty bare, but it was nice to have. Yeah. So then we got on the ship. They announced us, and I think went right to the concierge lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went to the concierge lunch, which was very lovely. We had the lobster salad and bubbles. I forget what else. And then I think they brought me a carrot cake with they don't do candles, as you know. So they put like something around it. So that was nice.
Which dining room was that in?
It was in the walled side of 1923.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was really nice. And then I guess our rooms were ready after that. So we went into our first room was on the 13th floor.
Yeah.
Yes, 13th floor, starboard side. So it was a Rapunzel room. Very nice. Had a veranda. Yeah, it was really nice. I love the shower with the ceramic tiling, some pretty tiling work in there. I mean, otherwise it seems, they seem pretty similar to a stateroom, and our stateroom host was on it right away. He was there. Oh, I guess one other thing we can talk about throughout, but Deegan had made, so this was our 5th, 6th, and 7th time on the Wish, I guess. Yeah. And Deegan had just found this Oceaneers Club cast member that she loves, who we've kept in touch with on Facebook. Her name's Binix. She's great. When we got to our room, Binix had made her like a door magnet that was, like a Minnie Mouse, and it said Deegan on it. And that was just really nice, and had, a little thing on the fish extender. So that was a great way for her to start the cruise.
I don't think we actually hit who else sailed with you. I think we've just started.
Yeah.
Jump right in. Yeah, it was just the three of us, Mark, Deegan, and I. Yeah, so she's 12, so she's in the in-between age where she can still go to the Oceaneers Club, but also the Edge Club. It was a 4A. It was like a family veranda. Yeah.
Okay.
It had the Murphy bed that came down, and then it had the bunk that came down, and then also so I guess it sleeps 5.
What was the second bed that you guys used?
We used the bunk bed. She slept in the bunk bed.
The thing that pulls down from the ceiling.
Yeah. She loved it. She did that all three sails.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was very nice.
Yes.
So we get on board, and of course we get our lunch, and then you have access to a very fun and exclusive place on board. Why don't you talk a little bit about the lounge?
Yeah, it was gorgeous. I mean, aesthetically, massive observation window. And the just right away, the staff was so attentive, and not in a weird way or a forced way, just very wanted to know what was up. I guess our first contacts were Lucio, who was running the wine station. They have a little wine wagon. Mm-hmm. It wasn't open yet, but he came out pretty early. Another member of the wait staff, Maurice. Mm-hmm. And they were great. I don't know. Were we just hanging out?
Well, we had eaten lunch, but we did check out so we just walked around the lounge. We didn't talk about this at club level, but included coffee, fancy machines are key, right? And they have that in the concierge lounge. They have 3 actually, and 2 make hot chocolate in addition to coffee. And then they have these stations where there's food. We called them the little vittles, because they would have these tiny plates of things. The first day they had sushi. So I think our daughter had sushi. She didn't really eat with us in the lunch. So she had some sushi. They have little charcuteries. I took pictures of all of this if anyone wants it. And then they did give us champagne. So I don't know if the cart was open. So
the first day in the lounge, you get either wine, beer, Truly, champagne as well, from 12 to 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we were having bubbles.
Yeah, we had bubbles. And then I had seen a video about this. They have this blue drink for the kids or for people who don't drink alcohol. It's called Clouden, Clouden. I think he said it's from Spain, I think. And they have a blue version and they have a golden version. And so that was Deegan's drink of choice for the lounge. So, we did that. And then they also have a second story where the hot tubs are. So there's an outdoor bar and then 2 hot tubs. And in between, there's like a connection type of wading pool. It has the showers that come down, kind of like the Chippendale pool, I guess, on 14, I think. And then they have all these Papazon. They have a couple of those round Papazon chairs and then deck chairs everywhere. They give you your own sunblock and towels and things like that. So, and, our experience of that area, all 3 cruises is almost nobody was there. There were several times we have it entirely to ourselves. Part of that might be because it was hot. So, getting in a hot tub, it would be cool if one of those hot tubs was not hot, I think. Sometimes it was nice. That first day, it was actually, there was a storm. So it was a little chilly. So we did get in the hot tub. Yeah. But, most days it was pretty hot. You could go in for a little bit, but then you would have to kind of cool off in the little wading pool next to it. So it was nice that was there.
Yeah. My only criticism of concierge would be that given that the most amount of people I saw other than us was maybe 3 on this giant sun deck, was they could have put like a legit pool in there.
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking that too, but they would probably have had to put a lifeguard there then, right, Christy?
I mean, it's Disney, so, it would, because they don't have a lifeguard at every one of their pools now, even on my sailing that I was in concierge on the Wish, every single seat was almost always full on that upper sun deck. So
that's interesting.
It is obviously just different scenarios and who knows, but I was still there in September, so it was still hot. So I don't know why that would have made a difference, but yeah, so they definitely used the seats, but I like the idea where they could have made one of the hot tubs a pool, like a plunge pool. That would have been nice.
The Cove Cafe situation,
Yeah.
The little, I don't even know what you call it, but you're like ankle deep and you're sitting on a bench and water's dripping down your back.
Yeah.
But that's basically the same size as the Cove pool.
That's true.
They could have just put that in there.
But they couldn't have made it an infinity because there's nothing.
And that's fine. Yeah. But that was the only thing design-wise that I was like, well...
Yeah. It was most crowded. I think the most crowded we saw was like in the middle of the day. We tended to go, 5 or 6 because we had late dining. So we tended to go, we love to go anywhere between, because we don't do the shows either usually. So, so we get a lot of stuff done between like 6 and 8 and it was dead then. Yeah.
But it was great. The towel attendant, I think his name was Sachin. I didn't have a lot of interaction with him, only because he was working so hard the whole time. Since it was very empty a lot, he was taking all the cushions off and vacuuming the cushions individually, folding and refolding towels, mopping. I mean, the guy was...
Yeah.
So again, I give him a shout out. I never met him, but...
Yeah. Oh, and another perk is on the 13th floor and also in the lounge on the 12th floor, I think they have 2 on the 12th floor. They have these like refrigerators that have the Dansani water and all the Cokes and Sprites. But what I really appreciated was they had flavored seltzer, like the Pellegrino flavored seltzer. I think it was black cherry, because we'll probably get to this. I tried to do the water strategy where I would have an alcoholic drink and then I would have my Dansani or my Pellegrino water. And those would really add up if you were having to buy them, not in the lounge. So I really thought that was a perk.
It would be a $5 beverage.
Yeah. Right. And I would take them back to the room. And so we would have them in the rooms and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lounge offers on the first day, like I said, it's the wine and beer and some adult beverages from boarding until 4:00. Then they take a break. And then happy hour occurs on the Wish, on all the ships and concierge from 5 to 10. And every evening on the ship, those are the hours that you can get basically. And on the Wish, it's basically any beverage that you want, which is really nice. and a huge full bar. Like that bar is amazing.
It's amazing, and they don't skimp. We tipped really well, so it was almost like we had to ask them to stop giving us alcohol at a certain point. And the pours of wine for dinner. Like honestly, I think there was one night that one of the bartenders poured an entire bottle of white wine into 2 glasses. I mean, that's how.
Well, a couple nights and an entire bottle of something on.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing I got to say as an ex-bartender, the professionalism, these aren't guys pulling a tap on a keg. It was impressive. Yeah. And not only the drink itself, but it's easy to get bogged down as a bartender. And I never saw these guys ever in the weeds. Like, your drink was there. Yeah, it was just very, very impressive.
And I would say, I know there's been some talk about this concierge staff on the Wish, especially when there was only 3 of them, I think, and now there are 5. But we knew all 5 pretty well by the end of the first cruise. So
that's great.
I thought they were good. Now we had been on the Wish several times. I know you talked about it on a previous episode. It might not be worth it to do concierge if it's your first time on the Wish and it's like a 3-night sailing. But because we had done a lot of the Wish stuff already, we were able to be in the lounge a lot.
Yeah, let's talk about the back-to-back aspect of it really quick. It is obviously a lot like Groundhog's Day for some of the different elements of the cruise. And even when it was with the Dream, people would always say, is it worth it to do a 7-night, or in your case, a 10-night, but a 7-night on the same ship, basically, when it's 2 cruises? So your menus are the same. Your shows are the same. All the jokes basically are the same. How did that feel from
awesome.
your, did you say awesome?
Yeah. Well, we didn't do all the dinners. So we went to 1923, all 3 cruises, because that's our favorite restaurant. And I got the same exact meal, the burrata and the filet mignon. And then we also got the pasta for the table. And that was awesome all 3 times. We went to Arendelle once, mostly because we just felt like we should. It's not our favorite restaurant, but we did have a good time.
I like Arendelle.
Yeah.
Like Arendelle was cute. Team Arendelle.
I think Arendelle's got like the most surprisingly pleasant menu.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why the girls are hating on Arendelle.
I hate Arendelle. It's just not my favorite. Yeah, we had a good meal there. And Deegan didn't want to go. She didn't go at all. She went to the club. So Mark and I just went on our own to Arendelle. And yeah, that show is amazing. My God. I mean, the voices and the animatronic Olaf was actually working. So they were like driving him around. And I thought that was great. And the food was good. So we had a great time that night. We did end up going to Marble twice because that's Deegan's favorite restaurant. But otherwise, we ate dinner in the lounge several nights. And apparently, I don't know if you had this on the cruise, Christy, but when you were in concierge, but they have a sea bass that's unbelievable. So we actually learned about it on the second cruise. And then we went back and made sure we had it on the last cruise as well. And then they have a really good salmon.
The Reuben.
They have a good Reuben. They have a good Cuban. For us, it didn't seem like Groundhog's Day because unless we wanted it to. I didn't notice it. Yeah, I didn't feel like, oh no, it's this again.
No, it was.
It did still go quickly. I think. Well, we could talk about it, but because we had 3 different rooms and we had to pack up every couple of days.
You guys packed a lot.
Yeah,
like you had to keep packing your whole trip.
Yeah. Well, the only issue, from my end, anyways, is after the first cruise. I think Diane, it took her hours to pack just Deegan because Deegan went bananas that first night. But
she just overpacked.
It became more efficient.
Yeah, I got a groove going, but I counted it up. Like you could conceivably lose 6 to 10 hours of your trip doing 3 back-to-back. So that, that's something you want to think about between like having to keep packing, debarkation, re-embarkation. There's, wait time. So,
but, one cool thing at one point during our first cruise, might have been the second day, concierge cast members started coming up to me going, are you doing a back-to-back-to-back? And I was like, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And it just kind of set off how, we started to get to know everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It was very cool. There were hugs, like they would come up and hug us. And on the last cruise, several of them were like, we just can't believe you won't be on the next one. And yeah, it was really sweet. But that is a downside. They have to pack the packing. And they even said that sometimes, unless you plan it really far out, it's hard to get the same cabin 3 times in a row anyway.
Sure.
But the positive is we got to see like 3 different areas of the ship. And that was also good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I mentioned on the first time we were on the show, there's a lot of miserable aspects to travel, no matter what. But I never think about those. I just think about how awesome something was.
Yeah.
So having to get off the ship and go through customs, not fun, but, after the fact, it's not even anything.
It was still worth it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can kind of merge both the back-to-backs, but since we're on it, why don't you talk a little bit more about what that experience is? Because when you're doing a back-to-back or just a back-to-back, you unfortunately don't get to just leisure around the ship while everyone leaves. They do make you disembark, but they do have a process for making it a little more efficient and a little bit more pleasant for those who are coming back around.
Yeah. And we did it differently both times. So that was an interesting contrast. The first time, so you get something in your stateroom the night before, and last year the back-to-backs got these orange cards, but this year they were yellow. So it was like a yellow card that you would show when you were back at the port. The first time we had to disembark, we did the breakfast, which was actually at Arundel. And then we got off. So we were on the earlier side. We had second seating. So it was the 8:20 breakfast. And then we got off shortly after that. So we didn't make use of concierge walking us down. I don't think.
No,
I don't think. So we just got off on our own. And then I have to say there was like almost no line at customs. So that was a perk to doing it that way. And then I think we were outside. We had to sit outside because they weren't ready to readmit people, but that was maybe 20 minutes maximum.
Yeah.
And then we were able to go in, and that was pretty seamless getting back in. But what I will say is if you're doing back-to-back in concierge, back-to-back cruisers get on the ship first before concierge does. So when they asked us, we got to the top of the stairs and we had our golden stickers again, and they asked us if we wanted to go to the lounge. I kind of had to ask them like, well, what makes the most sense? Because we're concierge, but we're also back to back. And I think I just made the determination that we'd get on more quickly if we just stayed out of the lounge and went to the back to back area. So we were in the back-to-back area for probably maybe half an hour. We were frantically trying to download Disney Plus episodes for Deegan, which is another story we could talk about for parents. So that was the first time. And then we were back on. We opted not to do the concierge lunch the second 2 cruises. We really wanted to. We love the chicken tikka masala in Marceline Market. So we went to the lounge, but I think we did go to Marceline Market. Yeah, we went to Marceline Market. We did go to the lounge to get bubbles. And then we went to Marceline and had the chicken tikka masala. And I think that's what we did that time. But we did end up back in the lounge because they had the sushi that Deegan likes. And we got her blue Cloudin or whatever. The second time we disembarked, we opted to stay in the lounge and then have them take us down, because there was something in the letter you get that you can stay on as late as you possibly can. And then your room's technically ready at 12:30, which I didn't know for the first time. I thought it was they said 12:30. I felt like it was 12:30 for the second cruise, but it's really the concierge staff told us that our room would just be ready when we got back on the ship, no matter what. But so for that second time, we opted to stay in the lounge, and there was some issue. They said they had a lot of guests who were questioning their bills at guest services, down on 4 or 5. So we didn't get off the ship till almost 10:15.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was pretty late. So we got off the ship at 10:15, and they walk you down, they call the elevator, and you go right down to the 3rd floor. But the downside to that was the line for customs was like on the ship. Like we hadn't even gotten off the ship and we were on the line for customs. So that was kind of you got to stay on the ship longer, but customs was a lot longer. So it took us a fair amount of time to get through customs, such that we got right back in the line to go through, the check-in. And then the same thing, we opted I think we actually just got right online. That's how quick it was. Like we opted to not go into the concierge lounge. And I think we just got right on the ship. And then same thing, that time we just went to the lounge and had the little vittles that they were serving. And that was really nice. Yeah. So different ways to do it, pros and cons to both.
So during the cruise, for other dining times, did you end up eating in the lounge most of the time?
Yes. Yeah. Except for 1923, we ate a few lunches. We would push lunch till like, I think they served lunch till almost 4, I think. So we would sometimes push lunch and have a late lunch and then kind of stay and have the early dinner part of it, frankly, because they're all small plates, right? It's not like a full meal. So yeah, we had several of our meals in the lounge, and that was nice. It's just so beautiful, like, because you're so literally beautiful at the front of the ship. So that was amazing. Yeah.
What other room categories did you have, or room options?
Our second room was on the 12th floor on the port side. It was the same room. So I guess it was a 4A, same exact setup, just on the other side of the ship. That benefit. So when we were on 13, we were not far from the entrance to the lounge on 13, which was nice because you could go to the sun deck or you could go down to the lounge. On 12, that was the closest we were to the lounge. It was literally like down the hall. So that was really great. And we liked that room too. I don't think there was anything different from that room. And then the best room we had for sure was the last one. I was on 11, which is kind of interesting. It was the handicap accessible room. And I was kind of conflicted about taking that. Christy knows, because that's the one you originally booked us, but we were on a wait list to get into a regular veranda room. So that room doesn't have a veranda. It's kind of at the very front of the ship to the right. And then the bridge is like right under you. Literally. But it was like almost as big as our first apartment we lived in. It's so big. I sent Christy like a room tour of it. It's so big. It has so much storage. And it has, I think I counted 7 full windows. So you kind of have a view of the side of off the side of the ship, but then also a little bit in front. And it's effectively a 1-bedroom. I don't know why they don't call it a 1-bedroom, because it has a partition but there's 2 doors you can close that closes off the sleeping area. And then there's only 1 bathroom. So it's not a split bathroom, but it's very big. It doesn't really have a shower. It's got like a shower that you could move a wheelchair into. But the only non-accessible thing I think about that room is there's no way to get around the bed. If you were in a wheelchair, you couldn't get around the actual bed. You'd have to go in on one side of the bed or the other side of the bed. But we did ask the concierge staff, and they said people who need those rooms usually book them on opening day. So if they're still available, and we booked this in January, so it had been available for a while.
We didn't click the box to say accessible. It was just what they do is Disney at some point opens it up for everybody. So they'll hold it back unless you click the little accessible box, but then eventually it just becomes available. And if it's available, then anybody can book.
Oh, and it has so it doesn't have a veranda, but it has a little seating area that has like a circular table and then 2 spinny chairs, like they spin around, that you can look out. And yeah, honestly, I would totally stand that room again.
For sure.
It was because it was huge. So hot. Even when we had a veranda, it was so hot that we weren't out on the verandas all that much. We saw the fireworks from them one night, but I think it's a great room. You do have to walk all the way back down the hall and then up and then back down. But honestly, that's not a big deal. We didn't really find that to be a big deal.
Yeah. Again, that's a real stretch to call that a problem.
And also, I didn't know this either. We found out on the first cruise, I was trying to get the little vittle plates to bring back to the room. And I just asked them if they had a tray I could borrow so I could take them back to the room. And they were like, borrow a tray. Lucio will take it for you. And so Lucio comes out with this huge tray and then he's like, what else do you want? Let's put a few other things on there. So they will bring stuff to your room for you if you ask. I mean, I didn't know to ask them, but you could.
Also, additional shout out for Lucio, because when he brought that tray out, they went upstairs to our room, but the door was broken to get out of the lounge. So then he had to go downstairs, back out all the way up. Yeah. And,
I am, and I have these 2 Wish cruises this fall on 2 different weekends, and concierge was available a couple of times for both of them. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to right now. I'm not going to spend the money. But man, am I wishing I had chosen to book concierge now. Every time I hear about it again, and I just, it sounds so lovely.
I loved it. Put yourself on the wait list. Yeah. It was worth every penny.
If you can do it, you don't have to worry about groceries when you get home.
Yeah.
It's very much worth it.
Yeah.
Just the professionalism of the staff, the level of service.
Oh, and we saw the captain. The captain was in the lounge one day. I don't know if I texted you, Christy, but we came in and the staff was kind of all buzzing, and they were like, the captain is here. The two captains, I guess was a Captain Marco. The captain was there. And then there's they kept calling him the second captain. I don't know what that means really, but, and then apparently the previous ship's captain was with them, and that's why they were in the lounge. So we got to see the captain one day.
I'm sure we spent plenty of time taking in the wonderful lounge and amazing rooms, but on the rare occasion that you did make it outside, how did we spend our time aboard the rest of the beautiful Disney Wish?
Well, probably the most fun is the first day was my birthday, and it happened to be Match Your Mate. And so we love Match Your Mate. And we went to that. And I just want to clarify, this was our second time winning Match Your Mate, and I was conflicted about it. So I asked the concierge staff if it would be okay if we put ourselves in the running again, knowing that we had already won once. And they were like, oh my God, of course, it's a different ship. And they were like, you guys should totally do it. As long as you're going to give some good entertainment. So anyway.
And we did.
Yeah, we did. So that first night we had a nice dinner at 1923. And then Deegan went to Kids Club. We went to Match Your Mate. We got picked as the couple number 2. And there were almost all the same questions, which frankly, we would have gotten right anyway, even if we didn't know them. But there was one different question, but we got that right. So we got 100%. We donated you win a bottle of champagne when you win Match Your Mate, and we donated it to the 50-year-old, there was a couple they were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary.
Aww.
So we donated that to them. But it was so fun. And people around the ship would come up to us and say, you guys won Match Your Mate, and you guys were so funny. And then the 2 cast members, we ended up seeing them a few times, and they came up to us. We went to the other 2 cruises. We also went to Match Your Mate and sat in the front, and they came up to us one time and they were like, you guys were the best. We call you couple number 2. We've told all our friends about you. And it was just so funny. And the second time we got on the ship, they announced we usually go by the Zimstigans to blend our last names. So they announce us, and then I hear the person go, they won Match Your Mate on the last sailing. That was really fun. And then on our bucket list we had never been to Keg and Compass for some reason on the other 2 cruises. So we did get to do that. Deegan had never been on the Aqua Mouse. So we did that twice. It was, again, if you go between 6 and 8, you can kind of walk on the Aqua Mouse. They let us go twice. So that was good. I still have not been on Slidosaurus Rex or whatever that is. So I have to put that on the bucket list. We went to bingo for the first time. I just don't think that's our scene really. Mm-hmm. And we did Palo brunch twice and dinner once. Amazing. We had an amazing server, Denise. So that was good. We actually did have Palo booked for all 3, but at a certain point, I was like, I think we've had enough. And I just felt bad, taking that spot from somebody who, I know how hard it is to get into Palo. So we didn't want to overdo that.
Did Deegan end up in the Kids Club at all? Yeah,
she did both. And it was kind of hit or miss on all the cruises. The first cruise, she went to Edge and the Kids Club a little bit. She wanted to see Ben X. The middle cruise, which was the longest, that was the one she didn't go as much, I don't think. But then she really got into it on the last cruise, almost in overcompensation mode, where I had showed her how to use the app, and she was constantly like, I have to be here for volleyball at 12:15, and then I have to do this. And there was one night she went to Edge and they were watching a movie, and I had to set an alarm because I went to sleep. I had to set an alarm to pick her up at 1 a.m. So she outdid all of us that night. But so she loves the Kids Club, and she met some nice friends. And again, the counselor that she loves was really good to her. So that was good. She loves Donald's Cantina. So that was her meal almost all the time. And plus the included soft serve. She probably had 4 of those a day. But she's old enough that sometimes she would just stay in the room by herself too. And that was fine. She was decompressing. And we got 2 cabanas, gotten one through, you send in your request 130 days. So we had gotten one that I knew was for the first cruise, and that was Cabana 7. And that was amazing. It just amazing. I mean, like from everything, you get to there and it says your little family name on cabana number 7, and you push this button and the people come, and man, do they work. Where they were sweating, boy, and they get on these bicycles. So it's your concierge staff, the managers and also the serving staff. They were awesome.
Yeah.
You get floats and I don't know.
Above and beyond. No, it was just Diane had showed me a video somebody had put on YouTube about a cabana, and it was impressive. But until you walk into it, it was amazing. I mean, there's you walk in, you have a living area, refrigerator, there's music, there's a giant fruit bowl, there's cold, non-alcoholic beverages. Mm-hmm. You have a veranda, nice sized veranda with mm-hmm. several chaise lounges. You walk down some steps, you got a hammock. You got a little tropical path to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it was gorgeous. The one thing, I think a storm had been through, and because the cabanas are very close to the man-made jetty, walking into the water was very rocky.
Very rocky.
I think a lot of the sand had gotten sucked out. And in fact, around Cabana 15, there was a really big sandbar. And so I'm sure that all sand got sucked up from just inside the water to create that sandbar. So it was a little rocky, and you notice the difference because Deegan and I went down to the family beach to do I guess we call it the ninja course, but the obstacle course in the water for the kids. And I noticed that the closer you got to the family beach, the sandier it was in the water.
Yeah.
So that was just a thing, but I think it was an anomaly.
That was, So Deegan did, I think, get a little bored. So we took turns. I took her to the Pelican Plunge, and then Mark took her to the Ninja course. So that was one thing. And then, so when we were on the second cruise, we were on the wait list, and one of the managers, I don't remember which one, I think it was Blanca, maybe came up and asked us. She got down, she was like whispering to us, and she was like, we have a cabana if you guys want it. And we had really wanted it for the third one, but she said, I don't think we'll be able to get you one for the third one, but we have one for this one. So we took it, but I was a little worried because I knew Deegan had been bored. And so all of this, I'm only saying this because Deegan, I said we could do whatever she wanted if we did this cabana, and she wanted to do the bike ride. So we did this bike ride, and we were far out by the hangar, and she fell off the bike and it hit her lip. And so she was like bleeding and crying. It was like one of those. And she's like, I just want to get back on the ship. And I thought, oh my God, we're paying all this money because, by the way, I think everyone knows the cabana prices had gone up, but because we had gotten the first one, we had the original price. And then the second one, I didn't even think of it when we were like, sure, we'll take it. But then we got the bill and I was like, oh, right. Because it had gone up, And so in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, and it was early in the day. We had just gotten there. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to have to take her back on the ship. But anyway, we got her back to the cabana, and the staff was so lovely. They came, they brought her ice. One of the hosts brought her like a Mickey bar, and they were just doing everything they could to also help us keep her. Cause I kept saying she wants to go back on the ship. And it ended up like we rode out the storm, and she was, she calmed down and it was fine. And she stayed the whole time. But I just call that out as just another example of them just going way above and beyond.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So sounds like at least 2 really amazing days in Castaway. Did we still get off on the third day?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the third Castaway stay, we didn't get a cabana, but we had prime real estate right down from the Heads Up bar. Mm-hmm. So, where everybody wants to take pictures, we were right there.
In between the first beach and then Pelican Plunge, yeah.
And so it was, it was great. It was
big, beautiful ship. Yeah, it was low. It was awesome to have the cabana. I would take it in a second, but it's hard to have a bad day in Castaway Cay. And it was also the first time Deegan ever wanted to do the kids club on Castaway. And so that was also very nice.
She did that on the third Castaway day?
Yeah. Yeah.
because she was all in. Did she do the teen kid club or the kids club?
She tried to do both. They do have this like separate area that was a little hard to find. Actually, it's kind of right behind where you rent the bikes, I guess. So she wanted to do this activity, but I guess nobody showed up. But then I did take her to, what do they call it?
Scuttle's Cove.
Scuttle's Cove, yeah. And then so she was there for probably 2 hours or so. It was a little hard because it was, just, I didn't know when she was leaving. Like we just hadn't planned in advance enough, but it was totally fine. But like the bad thing is she somehow lost her flip-flops at Scuttle's Cove. So poor Mark, I wore his flip-flops and she wore mine, and poor Mark had to book it on the hot pavement back to the ship. Well, it was too late. We were already on our way, and I was like, I'll just put her on my back, and he was like, no, I'll take the hit for the team.
But I get
There's
to the
a store right next to Scuttle's Cove.
Yeah, I know. But I get to the ship, and
that $25 put you over the edge, huh?
I know, right? Like, because we hadn't spent any money.
But I get to the ship and the girls aren't there because I figured they would be way ahead of me.
Yeah, we walked faster than him,
and I'm trying to find shade so I'm not blistering my feet. And then I called Diane and they're back at customs waiting on me.
But I loved the third day on Castaway as well as the cabanas.
3 great days on Castaway Cay.
Yeah. We did get back on the ship in enough time to have lunch in the lounge, though. I think the other times we grabbed stuff from Cookies.
Did you get off in Nassau at all?
We did. Of the 3 cruises, we got off one day, and we did Baja Mar.
What'd you think of that?
Water park. I thought it was great, actually. We enjoyed Atlantis back in
last summer.
But the thing about Atlantis is it's such an enormous complex that you got to walk through the shopping mall they have, walk through the casino, then you're walking through the gardens, and eventually you get to the water park. But Baja Mar, aside from having to wait on the bus, the bus took you literally to the water park, and so you just walk right in, and
it's very compact. They have a nice lazy river, and Deegan loved the wave pool. That's probably where we spent the most time. But yeah, I thought it was. I didn't think it was worth the price. I think it was almost $300 a person, or I think it was either $199 or $299. I think it was expensive. I didn't think it was worth it for what it was, but Deegan likes the idea of getting off if we're in a port, so we knew we were going to have to get off at least one time in Nassau. But then we stayed on the other times. But we did have to go back we were pulling out of Nassau because we were in the lounge, and then all of a sudden I noticed we were pulling back into Nassau. So there was somebody who had to get off for a medical emergency, but it really didn't take all that long. I don't think it was maybe an hour delay. I think that was on the last cruise.
How did you go about booking that excursion?
I booked it just on the app. I don't even think I went through concierge. I think I just booked it on the app at some point. Because again, we had done the Atlantis one, and I had a bunch of friends from work who had actually vacationed at Baja Mar, and they talked really highly of it. So I thought, well, we'll give it a try. But I'm not sure we'd need to get off if we ever did it again. I don't think we'd need to get off in Nassau again. I don't even think Deegan would need to get off.
One thing worth mentioning that I noticed was at the direct port where the ships pull in, a complete renovation. And it's a gorgeous complex.
Looks really nice. Yeah.
They've got this giant hologram screen. Mm-hmm. You've got, 50 yards of these small structures that each have little individual shops.
A remade straw market.
Yeah. And even Nassau proper, from when the first time I was in Nassau, has been cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
It was very impressive.
Yeah. Oh, and we did do a couples massage. That was very good. Oh, one thing I do have in my notes. So Deegan and I also got manicures, and this is the second time. We did that last year. I think you can skip manicures and pedicures on the Wish. It's expensive, and they start chipping the next day. It was something she wanted to do, and because we were doing a massage, I felt like I had to take her, or I shouldn't say that. I wanted to take her to have something, but even she said, I don't really think it's worth it. Mm. It's very expensive. I think it was $60 or $70 for a manicure. I wouldn't do it again. I love this Untangled salon is very beautiful. but I just don't think it's worth the money.
And we talked about this before your trip, even with club level or concierge in the lounge, you still thought that you would go to the different bars. So did you end up still doing that? Like, besides, I know you said you went to Keg and Compass, but did you end up making it to the other bars on the ship?
Yeah. Oh, and we should talk about the, if you're a Disney Visa card holder, you can pre-buy onboard credit and it counts as your 6 months of interest free. So I had done that, but you have to do it for each separate cruise. So I made a budget for each cruise. We blew the budget, not terribly, but we definitely did. But yeah, we went to Nightingale's a few times. We went to the Bayou. I think the Bayou is so pretty. We did the Bayou maybe 2 or 3 times. We did the Rose and then Keg and Compass. We did also end up getting one wine package, but they let us do it for the whole 3 cruises. And we just did like the 3-bottle wine package at dinner because we did it the first night because it was my birthday. And I think we were just like swept up in the moment and we didn't know enough to bring enough wine from concierge. I think if you're doing concierge, you probably don't need to do that. But over the 10 days, I mean, I think we were still working on the last bottle the last night of the last cruise. But so we did do that.
Did you have the same server every time?
Yeah.
Yes, we had LaTroy. He's awesome. And I think Caesar. And they had been in, LaTroy had definitely worked at some point in the concierge lounge because I had seen a video of him on YouTube. I'm trying to think if there were other bars we went to. I don't think so.
Well, we hit the 2 little, what would you call it? Kiosk bars.
Yeah.
Enchanted Sword and the Wishing Star.
Yeah. So this is my tip because, they're back to real time muster drills. And so 2 of our musters were indoors at the Walt Disney Theater. And then our last one was outdoors, but it's just like crowd central. So you really need to be kind to yourself after. And so our way of being kind to ourselves after was to not rush the crowds. And we would go and get espresso martinis. So that was kind of we called it the cluster, the mustard cluster. And so after the mustard cluster, we would go and get an espresso martini. So something we did learn is, they do the espresso art and they're kind of limited to what they can do. Like last summer, we got all different kinds of art. And this summer, they're kind of limited because they got not in trouble, but they were told because they're alcoholic drinks, they can't put any like Disney IP.
Stop it.
Yeah. I think we had, like, you can't put, like I had Alice in Wonderland on one of mine last year. So they're not doing that. You can get the Disney Wish logo. You can get
Disney,
like other things, but we kept getting like random corgis.
Yeah, we got a lot of corgis.
Just like random. And then that's where we started to learn. I don't know if we've talked about this, but a lot of the servers we had opened the Wish, and almost all of them had said they've already been notified that they're going to be opening the Treasure.
Oh,
yeah. Like one person said they had one more contract, they were going home, and then they were going to be on the Treasure. Yeah, it kind of made the Treasure more real,
Just back to the bar situation. After the girls would go to sleep, I would usually go down to the Bayou with a book. There were 1 or 2 nights when it was still a little rowdy. Being by yourself with a book in the Bayou when it's pretty empty and quiet is amazing because it is such a beautiful space. And in fact, the little booth with the flowers on top that we sat at together, Christy?
Yep.
I had that to myself twice.
Yeah. That's so pretty.
It's just, I was telling Diane several times probably, but I really appreciate how the bars are not smashed together and foreign, but they're open.
They're open internally.
That was really very, very cool.
Did you go to hyperspace at all?
We still have not been to hyperspace. We're not Star Wars people, though.
Ever?
I know.
We were just talking about this in what I think on our Cabanas show, it's just
kind of there.
It's just there. And the draw, maybe for the beginning draw was really big. And now
it's just crazy that like it got so hyped up. People were like, I am going to live in this lounge. And then they like put all these restrictions on getting you in. And then it was kind of very bland. And now you can just walk in.
I mean, I think there are people who kind of like Star Wars, and then there are fanatics. Oh, there's people
there are definitely people who have
it's like
Star Wars gear on.
They're totally into it. For us, we're not
that. Yeah.
Deegan thought Star Wars was lame when we first showed it to him. So again, the Bayou for me is a really.
They do have a good beer I want to try in hyperspace that I've heard good things about, like the Stout. But we do dress up in flapper gear though for 1923, and that's always fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Pirate Parlay?
Yes, we did. We went twice. For some reason, we didn't go on the middle one, but on the middle one, there was the 25th anniversary fireworks. So we saw those instead. But on the first one, it was your girl, your pirate, Red. She was awesome.
I love Red. I love that Red.
Yeah, she was awesome. And so on the first one, they had their normal after party where it was like a DJ or it was like regular music. And so Deegan and I went and we danced and we had a great time. But on the third cruise, they just kept the band that plays with Red going. And they were a good band, don't get me wrong. And they were playing good songs, but it just didn't get the crowd going as much as like the regular music. So that was something they changed during the time. Oh, and also the elevators all got old school buttons.
Right.
The whole time. So it started in the front, and we noticed by the end of the cruise, like all of the elevator banks now have old school buttons. So that was interesting. But yeah, the pirate party was fun. Yeah. I mean, those fireworks are amazing. And that the voice on Red is pretty.
The 25th anniversary fireworks.
Yeah, those were good. Yeah.
So did you have two fireworks on the 4 night?
On the middle cruise, we had the pirate night, and then on I forget which day was Pirate Day. One night was the 25th anniversary fireworks, and then the other one was Pirate Night. Don't want to spoil it, but just be alert if you have a Disney Band Plus that like sometimes there's interaction.
Like Pirate Night and maybe other deck parties and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the band work well for like getting in your room and shopping and anything like that?
Yeah. The band works seamlessly, but I think I told you already, they fall off easily. So Deegan lost hers on the first cruise in Pelican Plunge, and like we couldn't get it back. Mark lost his on the second or third cruise, but then they returned it to guest services. So he had it back for the third cruise. Mine was fine, but they do fall off easier than a Magic Band. So that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, it works seamlessly, and we have no problems with that. It does light up very brightly at night, though, if you're charging it. So I would just like put it in the bathroom or if you want extra light somewhere. But yeah, I think it's a great addition because it was so nice to not have to have you still need them if you're getting on and off the ship, but just walking around the ship, it was nice to not have to have a lanyard. So I thought it was a good addition.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, so they had that like captain's toast that I think went along with the 25th anniversary. Do you know on your 3 nights when that occurred?
We never went to a captain's toast. I don't remember seeing it in the Navigator either. Yeah, I don't remember seeing that. I don't think I know they did twice have, not on our first one for some reason, but on our second 2 cruises, they did have a character in the lounge. One of them was Captain Mickey. I sent you pictures of that. And then the second one, it was like Goofy or something. You're just kind of like, okay, no shade to Goofy, but yeah, but Captain Minnie was exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's unfortunate about the first cruise though.
I don't know, maybe we missed it, but I don't think so because they're very good about sending. You get a lot of messages from concierge on the app, but I don't remember seeing one on the first cruise.
No.
Maybe they were rolling it out still because on the Wonder in early June, it was only their second cruise doing a character again in concierge, and this is like they'll say it's like a special guest that's going to come to the lounge and to come at a particular time, and they'll take pictures with anybody who shows up. And so, they never know who the character is going to be. And so maybe it hadn't rolled out because they told us on the Wonder that it was just rolling out and they were like the first ship to get it. And it was slowly rolling out. And they were even like you can't, what is your excuse to not have brought this back? I know that was something they were slowly rolling out. All right. Oh, you had brought up that when you exited, you downloaded movies for Deegan at the port.
Oh, I had thought, but I'm possibly totally wrong. I had thought that you could access Disney Plus on the cruise, but I guess it's just that you can access what's on the stateroom TV on your devices. So I had like told Deegan that she could watch all of her favorite things. And that was just my bad. Although honestly, I don't know why they wouldn't give you access to your Disney Plus account on a Disney cruise. I was like frantically trying to download episodes of her show that she wanted when we were off the ship. And we did get the internet. You get like 24 hours of included internet in concierge. And so that was good. I used that to actually time my runs in the gym so that I could do my little Peloton workouts. And even Deegan got it, which I was surprised. I thought kids wouldn't have gotten it, but she got it too. But it wasn't enough to like download anything. So we did get her the internet package twice. And I think she got to do some things. But just on my next cruise, I would just make sure to have downloaded more things for her to watch. Because she just likes to, that's how she relaxes. So that was something that was just my bad. I was ill-informed.
Sounds like just an absolutely amazing cruise and also Walt Disney World trip on both ends here. Yes. Christy, do you have anything else to add before we?
Did you watch Seize the Adventure? 3 cruises and you didn't see it? It's the cutest little show. It's only 30 minutes long.
I know. I didn't. The first one was my the first day was my birthday. And I was like, I don't want to.
What is Seize the Adventure?
It's this cute
really things about it.
Little show at the theater. And it's like a mashup of a bunch of their songs. And it's just adorable. It's the happiest little Disney show at sea, if you ask me.
Yeah, we did see the new Little Mermaid. We went to the movies and that was good. I really enjoyed that. But no,
did you get your popcorn?
We got our included popcorn just the one time though. Or no, I got it twice. I got it twice. Yeah, I got it twice. I had intended to go to one show each cruise to make it, because in concierge, I think they will get you in to good seating, but you have to do it like 40 minutes in advance. And I just thought, I don't know. I was just always doing something else. So no, I didn't. I still haven't seen Seize the Adventure. I'm sorry.
Broadway style shows are sort of akin to Star Wars. You know, if you're into it, you're really into it. And if you're not, you're not. And
we just had other things, but I don't think there's anything. I did a little mind map. Let me see if there's anything we didn't talk about. I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, I will say on the last cruise, because we had done a tryback, they asked us if there was anything they could do differently. And I just happened to ask them if they had the Mickey churro waffles, because that's my favorite. And then on the last morning of our cruise, they brought Mickey churro waffles to our room. So I thought that was really special.
Yeah. One of the,
Venusa.
Yeah. One of the
great
concierge servers pretty much orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah. It was just so lovely. So lovely. And we were like taking pictures with everyone on the last day. We definitely got to know the concierge staff. And I thought they really made the experience for sure.
Yeah. I was down one morning and I'm making my espresso, a little groggy-eyed, and I think it was Ropa comes up behind me and just gives me a big hug and a squeeze, and she's like, "Good morning."
Yeah,
it was very sweet. Yeah, it was very, very good.
But there were people in the lounge for sure who are frequent flyers. They knew everyone. You could tell there was somebody who had been on 2 weeks before us, got on, like went home, I think he lives in Orlando, and then was getting on for like another back-to-back. So yeah, I was like, we need a mentor. We need one of these people to mentor us on concierge. And also a huge thank you to Christy, because number one, I changed this trip. I don't even know, maybe more than 10 times. And she was so lovely each time and to do it and help me brainstorm things and answered all my questions. And we couldn't have done this. And Mark and Deegan both separately have thanked me for planning such an amazing trip. So a lot of that credit goes to Christy.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always fun helping you guys brainstorm and plan, because your trips are always a little extra. I especially love
a little extra.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good spot to cut us off here. Mark, Diane, thank you so much for coming on and sharing what sounds like just an absolutely amazing cruise, vacation, concierge club combo here. I mean, I think everyone listening now is just a little bit jealous of this. But thank you both so much again for coming on. And Christy, do you have anything else that you want to add or anything about where listeners can find you at?
No, you can find me at Pack Your Pixie Dust online. If you want me to help you plan something, obviously, if you're working with a travel agent, I'm always in favor of you continuing to do that. But if you want to work with somebody, it does not cost any additional money to use me as your travel agent. And I would love to help you plan your vacation. And Lake, where do we find you at?
Well, you can find me over in my little corner of YouTube, talking a lot about running and cruising at MouseGen, and over at Instagram on mouse.gen. Thank you all again so much for joining us. That's going to wrap up our show here. We want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Once again, we want to thank Mark and Diane for coming on and sharing their adventures sailing back to back to back aboard the Disney Wish and staying club level across Walt Disney World. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would also like to thank our Patreons who make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by joining our community by visiting patreon.com/DCL podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Nova, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.